Hey everyone, and welcome back to another World of Warcraft Legion video. Today it's something that I actually haven't really talked about at all in the alpha or beta, and that's world PvP content for Legion. So today I'm just going to give you an overview of what's going to be there at launch, and just overall talk a little bit about it. Now I don't mean things like Wintergrasp or Ashran. What I'm more talking about is the world PvP content that actually takes place in the regular zones of Legion. Now historically, that's a kind of gameplay that died off early on with World of Warcraft. There was the introduction of battlegrounds, and then later on things like flying mounts, which meant that a lot of the reward was shifted onto queued content, so a lot of world PvP just didn't happen past people, say, dueling for the fun of it. Now, Legion's World Quest system has a few different types of PvP objective that I actually think have a pretty good chance of bringing some of this gameplay back to World of Warcraft, though I do kind of have to bring up the server balance issue here, not to throw a bucket of cold water on the situation, but we have some pretty darn severe server imbalance in the game as far as the ratio of Alliance to Horde or Horde to Alliance. It's actually kind of rare to find a server that's got a large population and a balanced ratio between the factions. Now this means the world PvP content's a bit harder to do without resorting to like bringing people across from other servers and stuff like that. But since this stuff's kind of world content and the zones of the current expansion aren't cross-realm zones, I just kind of worry that sometimes the numbers might not work out here, which is a very painful position for the designers to be in because I'm sure they've got loads of great ideas, and I've got to wonder if at some point they'll try to balance out factions via one means or the other. Anyway, let's take a look at the gameplay here. So first of all, we've got the tower objectives. These are scattered throughout the different zones, and basically there is a plot here that the Wardens can't man all of their fortifications, so Gen and Sylvanas are fighting for control of them. The actual gameplay of these towers is that they're full of NPCs and they're PvP enabled. In fact, standing in the area flags you for PvP. Now, the NPCs in these towers are kind of similar to the player classes, so you've got the rogue ones, the warrior ones, the hunter ones, the priest ones, stuff like that. They're a good bit more meaty than normal NPCs, which is kind of nice, and you progress through the tower objectives by just killing the enemy players that you find, or NPCs, and then killing a mini-boss. So you don't actually need to do PvP for these, you can just kill all the NPCs, but they are going to be pretty rewarding as far as the amount of honor that you get. So you will actually have a reason to go to these. The NPCs are troublesome to the point where taking them on while enemy players are around is going to be kind of tricky, and it's fair to say that these areas are a bit more threatening than most of the other ones. The mini-bosses at the end actually have quite a bit of HP too, so if you're fighting one of those, you're going to be kind of vulnerable to attack by other players. Now ideally these towers are going to lead to there just being some small-scale kind of skirmish, combat going on. Killing players in the world does give you honor experience, as does completing the objective itself. Now, currently completing the objective gives you 300 honor, which is actually the same as winning a battleground, so yeah, it is definitely kind of rewarding. Currently, there isn't much incentive for defending the towers, though, and I think that really is a large mistake. In fact, I think I'd be happy enough with these towers playing a more important role in the overall zone, and I'm thinking back to, say, a mixture of this current system, what they're doing right now, but also bringing in some elements of the Burning Crusade PvP objectives. There is potential here to make a kind of a constant war going on within the Broken Isles themselves, because every single zone is, it's scaled up to max level, right? So the content's always going to be relevant there. So there's a really cool opportunity there that I don't think they're fully sort of realizing or exploiting, but these towers are at least a step in that direction. Now the next one is a PvP objective that involves Murlocs. It's kind of reminiscent of Ashran in that you kill NPCs that are hostile to both factions, and in doing so you gain items which you then turn into an NPC that is friendly. Well, actually, in this case, to both factions. Basically, it's all about saving Murlocs. Anyway, the Murlocs are being enslaved by the Naga. Whenever you kill the Naga, you get items from the corpse of the Naga, and then you turn those into King Murgle, and you'll get some honor experience. Completing the objective itself gives you 300 honor, so pretty darn rewarding, and that's on top of the honor that you'll gain from handing in the items. And an objective like this, it's something that'll be flagged up for both factions, so you should have Alliance players in there, Horde players in there, all fighting over getting those artifacts to hand in to get some honor. So I think that is a pretty cool objective. There are also a few free-for-all PvP arenas around the Broken Isles, According to Jeremy Fiesel, there's some stuff with mounted combat too, there's stuff with turning into murlocs and other sort of wacky things that they can't do in normal arenas. The most notable free-for-all PvP arena is the Dalaran Underbelly. Functionally, it's a big free-for-all arena where anything goes. Now, there's numerous sources that give you a currency called Sightless Eyes. You can use these Sightless Eyes to bribe the guards to leave, which is what opens it up to free-for-all PvP combat. And I don't know if this spawns all the time, but when I was there, whenever the guards were bribed to leave, loads of crates full of that currency spawned. So there's this weird thing between people, they want to click in the crates and get the currency, but also it's a free-for-all PvP zone, so they could just get killed. You can also hire guards to help you fight, which is kind of cool, and currently there's an item that costs 1,000 Sightless Eyes that gives everyone a rat mount that they can use when they're in the underbelly. What I've seen from this so far seems to be really quite fun, and the free-for-all nature means that it's divorced from concerns over faction balance that I kind of mentioned to you earlier. Now, at one point I do remember there being an arena in Blackrook Hold, not the dungeon, the actual version of that that's in the game world, that was free-for-all PvP, but I went there just when I was doing some of the research for this video, and there was players inside it, and I couldn't fight them, so that was a little bit confusing. Maybe there's just a bug there, but Jeremy Fiesel did say multiple free-for-all PvP arenas, and, well, I assume he's not lying, so yeah, there's stuff there. Maybe it just isn't active on the beta. It's kind of tricky to know with a beta because it's there for the sake of testing, not necessarily the sake of making a full comprehensive review. But anyway, yeah, there's those cool free-for-all PvP objectives. Now, also, I think it's worth pointing out that I think more natural world PvP will happen since Legion encourages more people to be out in the world, often in groups due to the nature of some of the world quests. This is going to lead to more players of opposing factions meeting up, and hopefully some more world PvP. And one thing I want to bring up here, and this is kind of me going off my list of bullet points, but, you know, I was talking about faction balance in this video and how that's a bit of an issue for world PvP. There's one zone which kind of got around that, and that's the Timeless Isle. Basically, you could say, you could use an item which would flag you as being a third faction that was hostile to both Alliance and Horde. I wonder if they could do something, you know, surrounding a similar idea to that in Legion, and if maybe that's something that could play out throughout all of the zones of Legion for the players who are interested in doing that PvP combat. It's just a thought, but, you know, if we really do want to bring in natural world PvP, maybe they can throw in a currency like with what Timeless Isle did for world PvP, and perhaps there's a bit of potential there. Maybe it's something they'll bring in a future patch, but it's certainly, I think it's something I would actually personally like to see. And hopefully they do add more of these features in minigames as time goes on. Certainly I think the world quest system does make it easy to add in more of those PvP objectives. You know, somebody could just quickly script up something similar to that Murloc one that I mentioned earlier, throw that in and just add it to the system. And indeed the devs have said that that's one of the things they like about the world quest system. It's easy to add new content to it and to, you know, phase out and make old, tired content less likely and make new stuff more likely. So I think there is actually some pretty good potential there. Now, I don't think this stuff's going to blow people away overall, but I do think that it's going to be adding a nice amount of opt-in world PvP content for the players who actually want that. And certainly, it is a good bit more than what the world of Warlords of Draenor did. Obviously, Warlords of Draenor did have Ashran, and I did not like Ashran at all. You know, the common perception or whatever is that that's the case, but, you know, there's been videos where I've talked critically about Ashran recently, and I found, you know, a lot of people jumped into the comments and said, hey, I liked Ashran, so I guess if you're a player who really enjoyed that Ashran content, you're probably not going to have that same niche scratched in Legion, but you might be able to work out some other world PvP stuff. And certainly, if you want to just get a group of your friends together and roam around the world killing players of the opposite faction, then these PvP areas, objectives in the world quest system give you an area to target for that gameplay. So there you go, that's just an overview of what the situation is currently with world PvP. Some pretty decent promise, and of course I'm definitely interested in seeing where they take it in future patches. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what sort of stuff you'd be interested to see with world PvP. And with that, I will see you next time.